Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys so much for coming out. This is very cool. Good to see comedy during these weird times. I'm a little brother. I have a big brother. And there's a time in your life as a little brother where your big brother is so much physically stronger than you. You're so powerless compared to him that he'll be able to come home and he can do whatever he wants. He'll come home and be like, you gotta get off the Xbox right now. And all you can do is kind of mutter to yourself. You can just be like, you're not even allowed on the Xbox right now. Like, literally mom said we're supposed to split the Xbox. So stupid, you know? And watching politics right now, it's so clear that the Republicans are the big brother and the Democrats are the little brother. Because the Republicans will come over and just say crazy shit. They'll be like, trans people can't drive cars. And then Democrats will be like, you can't say that. What the heck? You're literally not allowed. You're not the person who decides who drives cars. What the heck? And the Republicans would be like, what'd you say? And they're like, you're in charge. I don't know. I didn't even do anything. And then Bernie Sanders is like your cool cousin from out of town who's trying to break you free. He's like, doing theater doesn't make you gay. Don't listen to him. Live your own life. Believe in yourself. You know, so we're going. I'm very nervous about the future, though. I'm very afraid. We have a lot of tech in our government right now. You know, got a lot of creatives and disruptors in charge of getting poor people medicine, which is cool, you know. What if you could do your chemo in the metaverse? Have we thought about that, you know? That's a good idea. Look into that. But I'm very jealous of older people's relationship to tech, because tech used to be really cool. Tech was fun for a while, you know? It was like in the 50s, tech was just one guy from GE being like, have you ever wanted to keep your food fresh for weeks? Now you can, introducing the refrigerator. And it was like, oh, cool. Wow, what a cool problem you've solved. But our tech today is just like Zuckerberg slithering out of Meta being like, have you ever wanted to call a cab while tweeting an Asian slur? And it's like, no, what? What? But then like 35% of America is like, yeah, kinda. And you're like, what? What do you mean? It's hard. Even the tech we like, it's such a double-edged sword. Like, there's so much technology that I use every day. I love my phone. I do. I love it. But I'm so aware that it's bad for me. You know what I mean? So aware it's not good for my life. And that's something old folks never had to deal with. My grandfather was never like, I'd love to use the toaster, but I don't want to be depressed. You know, like, that's not fair. That sucks. Like, and it's just gonna get worse. Like, AI is on the way. I'm very afraid of AI. I don't know about you guys. I have a lot of friends who work in AI, and they always try to convince me that AI is cool. And one of them recently was like, AI, don't worry about AI. He was like, AI is like the calculator. And I was like, how is AI like the calculator? And he goes, when the calculator came out, everyone was like, oh no, the calculator is gonna make math too accessible, make it too easy, you know? It's gonna destroy math. But in reality, it made math more understandable. It promoted math, it made things better. And he said, that's what AI is gonna be like. We're worried it's gonna destroy, but in reality, it's gonna make things way easier. And I was like, okay, that's a fair point. I understand what you mean. But to be fair, nobody used the calculator to put their friends' faces into pornography. So, you know, it couldn't do that. It could not do that. You know, it could say boobs. You could do 80085 and then flip it upside down. It could say boobs. But that feels lower stakes. Admit it, that feels slightly lower stakes. So here we are. But I'm worried. I want to be a good guy. I'm trying to be a good guy, a good man. People are very worried about men these days. All these stats. Men are more hardcore than they've ever been. We're less sensitive than we've ever been. But I think there's good stuff for men too. I think there's like good stuff going on male-wise. Like I thought, I do. I thought the Drake-Kendrick beef was really good for men. I thought that was like a huge win for men. Because typically, you know, that was actually, if you think about it, it was a very emotionally intelligent rap beef. You know? Because normally rap beefs are just like two guys being like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna murder you. But this one was Drake, you know, talking to Kendrick, and then Kendrick was just like, hey man, you're too insecure to ever be a good dad. It's like, wow. Whoa. What a real thing to say to a person. Like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And then Drake, his big response was like, hey man, why don't you spend more time with your wife? It's like, wow, okay. You know, all right, now we're getting somewhere. Even though like, the whole, you know, the big crux of the beef was Kendrick calling Drake a pedophile. And if you really think about that on a core level, what he's really doing is being like, you know what, Drake? You're a threat to vulnerable young women. That is progressive. Like, that's so progressive. You know what I mean? So in the end, guys, I know people didn't like the halftime show, but if we're rooting for men, let's give them a little bit of love. You know what I mean? Let's give them just a little bit of love. All right, I'm Ellis Jones. Thank you, guys.
Monster on the beat, ho, beat, both, beat, rap.